Let me know if you're here. All right. So let me know who's here. Just type it in. You're here. In any regards, so let me get on. Let me get on with this. So it's graphing trigonometric functions 3. First question to ask: what are the amplitude and the period of the graph represented by the equation y equals -3 cosine theta over 3? So I'm going to rewrite that. Y equals -3 cosine theta over 3. So our b value again will be 1/3. This can be rewritten like this. One-third theta. So this right here is our b value. So if we want to use our formula, they want to know, first of all, they want to know what the amplitude is. The amplitude is going to be a positive number, always, right? So the amplitude itself is 3. That's the amplitude. Amplitude is that. Right? And then since our b value is 1/3, we have to use the formula for the period, right? Formula for period is equal to 2 pi over b, absolute value b, right? So that's going to be 2 pi over 1/3 is going to be equal to 6 pi. 6 pi. So we're looking at 3 and 6 pi. So we're looking at an answer of 4. Let me know if you have any questions so far. Okay, so then let's go on to question 2. The graph of which equation has an amplitude 2 and period pi? Well, that's pretty easy. An amplitude 2 would preclude or prevent problem 2 being the answer, right? You want a period of pi. Keep in mind that the formula for the period is equal to 2 pi over b. So if we wanted a period of pi, that means our b value would have to equal 2. So the period would be equal to 2 pi over 2. P equals pi. So we're going to need an amplitude of 2 and a b value of 2. So that only leaves us with 1 in the answer. Hi Jessica. So, hi Navneet. So let's look at question 3. So this is the graph of which function has an amplitude of 2 and a period of 4 pi. So we want a period of 4 pi this time. Again, let's go back with our formula. Our formula is going to be, from the P is going to be P equals 2 pi over B. We want, so that means that we need it to have a B value of 1/2. B equals 1/2. Why? Because if we have 2 pi over 1/2, we can't divide a fraction by fraction. We have to flip and multiply. So what we're going to do is say 2 over 1 times 2 pi. It's going to equal 4 pi. So we need B value 1/2 and we need an amplitude of 2. So again, this leaves us with an answer of 1. Let me know if you have any questions so far. Four says, which statement is incorrect? Which statement is incorrect for the graph of the function y equals -3 cosine pi over 3 x minus 4 plus 7. So does this look at a period of 6? Well, let's see. So, let's see. Keep in mind that the x minus 4 is a shift to the right. Mine is a shift to the right. It definitely has an amplitude of 3. See if it's a period of 6, so we have 1 over 3, 2 pi. So it does have a period of 6 pi. So 1 and 2 are correct. The range is the values for the y value. Did we learn the range? You need to learn the range. It says the midline is y equals -4. Well, the best way to look at this would be for us to graph this. That's what I would always advise you guys to do on a Regents exam, is to graph this. So I'm gonna go over and head over to Desmos.com and graph this problem out. The problem says y equals -3 cosine it's pi over 3, right? So let me use it right here. Pi over 3 x minus 4 plus 7. All right. Okay. Let's adjust this thing right here. Sorry, guys. There we go. There we go. Okay. So, this is what we have. Wait, let me try to do something, because I think this is incorporating everything into it. Let's try to make this plus 7 over here. Yes, that's more like it. Plus 7, okay. Now, the bottom one says it has a midline of y equals -4. Now, that does not make sense. Midline of y equals -4. Well, let's draw the midline of y equals -4 down here. See, y equals -4. That's the midline. So that the midline would go right through the graph. So 4 is out. Questions? 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 Ask me. All right, so then let's look at question 5. Tides are a periodic rise and fall of ocean water, right? So let's just try to visualize a tide. Periodic rise and fall of ocean water, right? It's a tide. A typical day at a seaport. To predict the time of the next high tide, the most important value to have would be the what? Time between the consecutive waves, the consecutive low tides. So they want to know the period. In other words, when the period is here, the time when the height is 20 feet, that's the amplitude. The average depth of the water over 12, no. The difference between the highs and the lows, no. So you want to know the periodic waves. So you want the time between the consecutive low tides right here. That is going to be your period. That also coincidentally is equal to 1 over the frequency. So we're looking at 1. Question 6. The average monthly temperature of a city can be modeled by a cosine graph, right? So we're going to do that right now. I'm going to erase it though, because wow, I'm shocked. Melissa has been living in Phoenix, Arizona, where the average annual temperature is 75 degrees Fahrenheit. She would like to move and live in a location where the average annual temperature is 62 degrees Fahrenheit. When examining the graphs of the average monthly temperatures for various locations, Melissa should focus on what? She's looking for more the midline. Not really the horizontal shift. Not really the period. The amplitudes are just will emphasize the highs and the lows. What she wants to focus on is the midline. And finally, question 7. It says a sine function is graphed below. Determine and state the amplitude and period of this function. These are pretty much did the entire sheet for you guys. What is the amplitude? Look for that midline first before you think about putting in an amplitude. Midline here seems to be at y equals 1. You guys decide that. I'm thinking that the amplitude would be around 3. Sorry, amplitude would be around 2 because it goes from 1 to 3. And the period from high to low. So the period will go from, we don't make it easy. This is the shift. Well, I'll let you guys decide what the period is. I'll go over that again tomorrow. You know, there aren't that many people here, but if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Any questions? Any questions at all? I think the sheet has 8 problems. I did 7. Or almost 7. Period, again, keep in mind what the period is. It's from here to here. Just so you guys can know. From here is peak to peak, sorry. Peak to peak, essentially. Alright? Any questions, guys? please let me know. Please make sure to frequently check the Google Classroom, as well as complete the study.com assignments. You guys should be seeing grades reflected on the Google Classroom a lot for the assignments that are on Google Classroom, as well as the assignments that are on study.com. Please make sure to leave comments there, here, or in the, if you can, I don't think you can, the study.com platform. Alright. If there's no other questions, guys, anybody have any questions? Navdeep? Jessica, no questions? I don't know who the two other people are, but any questions, guys? Any questions with the sheet that I signed? Let me know. Alright. Then I'm going to sign off. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.